Hey there, Scorpio. Welcome to your reading for the week of October 27th. This week, we are going to jump right in here. You have this card that says you're very close to achieving a goal. You have this other card that says a personal issue reaches resolution. So that looks pretty good. You could be very close to something. Kind of weird. All three water signs have had something about like a cycle this week or ending a cycle. And you do have this card that says a personal issue reaches resolution. So, this could just be like a collective water sign energy, the Nine of Swords, apparently this week. Again, Nine of Swords is a never-ending nightmare, but, obviously in a reading like this, it could say that you're bringing some sort of never-ending nightmare to an end. Or, it could just be a personal issue, like that card says. You have the Nine of Swords, the Ace of Swords, and the Knight of Swords in your first row. The Nine of Swords is about, choosing. He really has a very easy solution as well. He just needs to get out of his situation. He needs to get out of that bed to change whatever is happening for him. He also needs to trust in what he knows. And that's kind of popping into my head for you, Scorpio, because he has this blanket. I'll show you in just a second. And on that blanket, there are all these astrological symbols in the blue squares. So the astrological symbols, this blanket's meant to be a comfort blanket because the astrological symbols represent all the things that he has lived through, like all the astrology that he has experienced in his life. And so it kind of is meant to tell him, hey, you've been through much worse, or whatever, or you have learned these skills, and you could easily get out of your situation if you just looked at all the things that you have done so far in your life and all the things that you have lived through. It kind of helps him put his situation into perspective. So sometimes we just have to gain a new perspective on whatever it is we're dealing with, or we just have to look at what we've done, and it can easily get us out of this situation. But again, for you, because you have that card that says a personal issue reaches resolution, it looks to me like you're solving it. You have the Ace of Swords, which is great. Again, this makes perfect sense with the card that says you're very close to achieving your goal. The sword is above the mountains on the Ace of Swords, and so the sword being above the mountains can represent a victory. That's why it represents a victory. That's why the Ace of Swords can represent overcoming an obstacle or, solving something that you're dealing with. And I definitely feel that's what's going on here. You have two aces. There's something, I don't know what's up with the end of the year here. Normally I get multiple aces for people at the beginning of a year, which kind of makes sense. But this year, it seems like everybody's getting a bunch of aces at the end of the year, which, could be good because I think 2025 has been a little slow. I said at the beginning of the year that the year didn't really start until May or June. That's when we cleared all the retrogrades that we dealt with from the year before. But we still have a lot of retrogrades right now. Uranus is going retrograde. Uranus is retrograde. Mercury's going retrograde. Neptune and Saturn are retrograde. We just ended Pluto retrograde. It's been nonstop. But I'm wondering if at the end of the year here that we're kind of getting a chance to start something new. The Ace of Swords, as far as something new is concerned, could be you picking a new focus. The Ace of Swords is laser-like focus, being focused on one goal and then achieving it. And I feel, and cutting everything else out, by the way. So I think it would be a good time for you to pick a focus. You have the Knight of Swords. I feel pretty good about the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords is one of those cards. To me, it can be good or bad in a reading. But you have the Eight of Pentacles as well, going this direction, obviously. And I think the Eight of Pentacles kind of gives the Knight of Swords a little bit of consistency. The story of the card is that he's being too hasty. He's jumping to conclusions or he's rushing something. But I kind of feel with that Eight of Pentacles that you're not, that you're just not rushing something. I feel you're probably just moving quickly. He doesn't have to be bad is what I'm trying to say. He can just represent moving quickly towards something like a goal, wish, dream. With that Ace of Swords, this could be like an answer. Sometimes if we're trying to get something started and we're just kind of waiting, which maybe you've been waiting to get an answer or been waiting to figure out what to do next. I feel like the Knight of Swords is kind of saying you're discovering what to move towards or what to do next. With the Nine of Swords, you have the Nine of Swords. So, definitely something to think about. I think putting things into perspective would be good. Also, with the Eight of Pentacles as well, Eight of Pentacles is about focusing on what you can control. The Nine of Swords sometimes we can worry about things that are out of our control or that we just have no control over. And the Eight of Pentacles is like, okay, what can you do? And if you just focus on only what you can do, then, things can improve with the Eight of Pentacles. So that's basically what I would do here. With the Ace of Swords, you have the Six of Cups, which you have twice in this reading as well. Here and here. Haven't I been calling you Cancer as a joke, Scorpio? I'm pretty sure, because at the beginning of the year, it was like every single reading I did for Cancer, they would have 900 repeat cards. And it's like the same thing for you all of a sudden at the end of the year here. Whenever we have repeating cards, it's like the universe saying I meant what I said. And it's also kind of confirmation. I actually like it because it, says that you're focused, you're working on maybe like one thing or two things at this time, and you're on the right path. So it's kind of like confirmation for your path. With the Knight of Swords, yes, you have the Fool. Again, this gives me the feelings of, having an answer all of a sudden. Like suddenly getting an answer on like what to do next, right? It's pretty simple. The Fool is ready to take a leap of faith. I feel like you're taking a leap towards something that you're going to be working on. So this is pretty good here, Cancer. It's almost like, I wouldn't really call it clarity, but maybe, I think it's more work. You just know what to work on now. Or maybe you're getting a result and, and it works, in work or business or whatever you do. And so you're going to like double down on that, whatever that activity is. So I feel pretty good about this. There's also something about loyalty. We have this white dog here. And the dog on the Fool can represent like loyalty or a person who's loyal. You have the Three of Cups, you have the Six of Cups twice. You have the Three of Cups here, Six of Cups twice. Some of you could be like figuring out what like the people in your life that have your best interest at heart, and you could be choosing to surround yourself with more loyal people. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this mongoose. It says self-assertive, genuineness, and candidness. Yeah, genuine people. You have this triceratops. It says setting boundaries, standing proud, using your sacred voice. So boundaries is definitely going to be important. I think we've talked a lot this year with you, Scorpio, about the people who support you, the people who don't, making sure you're surrounding yourself with those people. And both these cards kind of are saying the same thing, that you could be putting up boundaries against people who aren't genuine or who don't like support you or don't support your ideas, and you could be surrounding yourself with more people who do, which is great. I'm a big fan of doing that in the first place. You have the Nine of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles, and the Three of Cups. Nine of Cups, of course, can be fulfillment or wish fulfillment. I think sometimes with the Nine of Swords, we do maybe kind of have to brainwash ourselves because because the Nine of Swords can say that the environment is not perfect. If your job sucks but you're having a hard time finding a new one, would it be better to just make the best of what you have right now? That doesn't mean that you're not going to get a new job in the future, but the Nine of Cups is about creating an energy of what you wish for around you. It says you have to bathe in what you want. You have to be in that energy field so that you can attract it. And even though things might not be perfect, with the Nine of Swords, what can you do to create that perfect energy around you? And, again, the funny thing is, it's not even about being perfect. It's like maybe the only thing you enjoy about your job is the water fountain. Then I would fall in love with that freaking water fountain and be grateful for it every single day. You never know. It's like something small like that could, really change the energy around you. And the Nine of Cups really wants you to do that. So I would be doing that. Also, you could be making a wish. And the funny thing is like, it's like, I'm sure you've heard people say, or you probably have seen people where they're like, I tried to manifest something in my life, but my life got worse when I tried to manifest, X, Y, Z. And I'm always like, yes, usually that's what happens. It's like, obviously, if you're trying to manifest something better, the universe is trying to get you away from things that are making it worse without even realizing it. So there might be a little bit of a dip before you get to the actual manifestation. I'm not saying things are going to get worse for you, but what I am saying is you might, I kind of get the feeling from the reading that you might notice that you feel pulled away from certain things with that Eight of Cups right there. And I feel this is encouraging you to walk away from those things that you feel like you should walk away from, because it's probably going to get you to your manifestation faster. You have the Eight of Pentacles. I feel really good about the Eight of Pentacles in your reading. Sure, it's a good card, but it's not an exciting card, right? I feel like it's exciting in your reading, Scorpio. Why, I don't know, but it just feels good to me. I think maybe you're discovering something that actually works that you can work on. It's like knowing what to do is like half the battle. And when you finally know what to do to create an improvement, or to get your business working, your career, or your love life, or whatever, and kind of like what buttons to push, then obviously things can get easier. And that's really the feeling I get on the Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles is very simple. He's only working on one thing. He knows that this one thing is going to lead to a result. And that's what I feel for you. It's like you're discovering like a button that you can push that gets something working. It's probably going to require a little bit of effort, but again, he's working diligently. He can do the work as well, which I think is important for you, Scorpio. Like, obviously, if you're doing something you hate, then it's going to be really hard to do it. But, it's almost like you're discovering something that, it might not be perfect, but, you might be perfectly happy to do it, whatever the activity is. So, I think you're getting answers. You have the Three of Cups. Three of Cups can be celebration, happiness, again, surrounding yourself with good people. These three people are celebrating this harvest that's going on around them. There is something about the end of the year here where I think one of the best, after I finished I just did bonus readings for the end of the year. And, kind of what I realized by the end of those readings, which usually is what happens, is that I think people should create some quick wins at the end of the year here, even if it isn't, something totally spectacular. But if you could do something that will work in your life, I think it would really motivate you in 2026. So I would just start thinking about that. Like, are there any like quick wins that you can create? Are there any things that you can do that are like guaranteed to be successful? It's like, just to give you an example, like I know that at the end of the year, if I do yearly readings, that they're going to do well for me, right? Every year they do. So it's like, you bet your ass I'm going to do yearly readings this year, right? Because it's a quick win. I know for a fact that it will win. So, do you have anything like that? But it doesn't even have to be for work. It could be health, relationships. It could be whatever. It's like, how can you create that? And I would just think about it. With the Nine of Cups, you have the Queen of Wands here. She has to be bold, assertive, confident. She has to move towards things that make her happy. She has the sunflower right here that points towards the sun. So she is literally doing things that bring her joy, happiness, peace. And that's all she's focused on. There's definitely, this reading is talking about your focus, like what you pay attention to, Scorpio. So I would make sure to focus on those things and do more. With the Eight of Pentacles, I told you, I knew that these two cards were connected. I literally just feel like that's confirmation right there for the message that I gave on that Knight of Swords. It's like just the universe saying exactly what I said. With the Three of Cups, you have the Sun. Yes, more happiness. I'm cheating a little bit because I think with, Uranus going back into Taurus next month, it's going to retrograde into Taurus. It's retrograding right now in Gemini. But, especially next month, even though we're not there yet, I would start now, right? Even that Uranus and Taurus, it really wants fixed signs to focus on freedom. And obviously, if you do more things that make you feel happy, light, make you feel ease in your life, then your life is going to get better. This baby or child is carrying this big banner. This banner is meant to look heavy, but he's carrying it easily. So the Sun is a card of ease. It says, can you make your life easier? Like I said, maybe you need to focus on the water cooler at work. Maybe that's the only thing you can do to get through the day. But, if it works, it works, right? As ridiculous as that sounds, I feel that if you could just start focusing on those little sun moments in your life, that things will get a lot better for you at this time. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this progression card. It says journey on it. You have this 10th house. It says authority on it. I do feel it's a great time for you to build authority. Again, speaking of fixed signs, having Pluto in Aquarius, could be very good for you for building authority, for becoming an authority, for standing out, becoming a leader, all those things, because it's another fixed sign. And again, Pluto is where we get our power. So for you, Scorpio, shining your light bright, the thing about Pluto and Aquarius is a star card. So even though Pluto in Aquarius isn't the star, that's definitely something I would take advantage of, shining your light bright, fulfilling yourself more, being a leader, working towards one goal with the star card, even though we don't have the star card here, I'm just saying. And so, I think all those things go into that 10th house card, and that's what I would do. You have the Eight of Cups, the Eight of Swords, and the Ace of Cups. The Eight of Cups is about walking away from things that no longer serve you. you have that progressions card that says journey on it. And progressions, this card is, I can't remember what this deck is. It's the Astro Codes Oracle or whatever it's called, and it's all about astrology. So, progression, our astrological chart progresses. Our natal planets progress as we move through life. And sometimes I think we just enter into a period of life where something that used to make us happy or serve us no longer does. And the Eight of Cups, he is walking away from something that once brought him fulfillment, but it doesn't anymore. And so a lot of you could literally just be going through a progression where it's like something that used to make you happy just doesn't any longer. It's kind of funny because we're around the time of your solar return, right? Your birth time. And, so again, a lot of you, this makes sense. There could be a big change coming up for you if it's not your birthday yet. And, around the time of your birthday. And, it could be one of those things where you're just leaving things behind. You have the Eight of Swords. Yeah, all three water signs have the Eight of Swords, I'm pretty sure. So Eight of Swords is only one way of doing things when there are many. Eight of Swords wants us to stay open to all solutions that exist to anything that we're dealing with. She's also kind of making a bigger deal out of her situation than she needs to. Something about the Eight of Swords, she's standing in the shallow pool of water, and the water kind of represents her making a bigger deal out of something than she needs to. It kind of represents emotions, but it represents shallow emotions on the Eight of Swords. So she might be worried about her situation more than she needs to be. Nine of Swords, very similar. And, this could say there are probably more solutions than you're thinking that could get you out of anything where you're stuck, and you just have to be open to those solutions. I think the trick for you is fulfillment, clearly. You have the Nine of Cups, you have the Ace of Cups here, Three of Cups, Six of Cups even can be fulfillment. And so I think doing more things that cause you to overflow would be a good idea, putting yourself first. And, sometimes I think when we do things that don't fulfill us, we're kind of putting other people first, right? And so the Ace of Cups is about doing things where you can just reach down into the water below you and fill yourself up. And I would definitely be thinking about that, Scorpio, especially with Uranus going back into Taurus next month. Again, it's going to be all about you doing more things that nurture your soul. And that's what I would be focusing on, plain and simple, is things that nurture you. Could be a little bit of love here. I don't really see anyone showing up, but, the Six of Cups can be a soulmate. And so if you're looking for love, you definitely could be attracting a new person. Here you go. With the Eight of Cups, you have the Lovers. So there, yes, definitely could be, if you're creating a life of fulfillment, then you're going to attract a person that also is fulfilled, which is a good thing. So if you want love, definitely could be love. I also feel in a reading like this, the Lovers traditionally was a card of being at a crossroads, having a choice to make. So the Lovers can be about making a choice. And you could be making a choice at this time. And it doesn't have to be in love. Again, traditionally, it was a card of making, being at a crossroads, having a choice to make in love. But just in a general reading, it could be you needing to make the choice of love with the Ace of Cups. Now, again, that doesn't have to be a person. That could be you choosing to love yourself, choosing to do things that you do love, whatever. With the Eight of Swords, you have the King of Wands. Yeah, there's like something about bravery, I feel, for water signs right now, where it's like I feel like water signs could create a very quick improvement in their life, but I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I think water signs have to be brave and bold and assertive and face fears, and if you do that, then you probably will make a important change. I also think water signs are very futuristic right now, and the King of Wands, he is a little bit innovative. He has the gift of foresight. Most people don't consider him intuitive, but he can almost see the future. He can have very futuristic ideas for his life, his business, his love life, whatever. And I would be embracing those new ideas. With the Ace of Cups, you have the Three of Wands. Yeah, the universe wants you to expand things, right? It says even if you're doing things that you don't like, it's like that. Maybe it's an obligation, like a job. It's like, what can you like? What, even if it's something very small, and how can you expand that, right? That's what I would do here. The Three of Wands is also encouraging you to step into the unknown. He has these ships, these boats on the ocean. They can represent your ships coming in, but I always say those boats are pointing out of the harbor. And so they can represent needing to go on an adventure or needing to step into the unknown, because you never know what you might discover. It's like if you are standing where you've always been, you're going to get what you've always got. And so the Three of Wands wants us to find something new to enjoy. Next, in the area of of the good stuff, you have the Stag Spirit says, you are meant for great things. Trust in all that you have to offer. Yes. You have the Sun. Again, it says, the sun is coming to shine its light to what's been kept hidden, to reveal the truth. The sun reveals things. The Sun card in the tarot reveals things. The Sun card in the tarot is like a spotlight. And so I think this is a sun reading for sure, Scorpio. I think it's saying you need to move more towards love, joy, happiness, all those good feelings, and pay attention. You have the Six of Cups, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Judgment card. Six of Cups can be a turnaround. Six of Cups can come up when we are overcoming an obstacle, which this reading definitely looks like you overcoming some sort of obstacle. So I think, any obstacles you're trying to overcome would be a good thing to focus on and overcome this week. Can also represent a soulmate. A lot of people read it as someone from the past. I don't, because it's just a card of innocence and nostalgia. It just represents thinking about the past. It doesn't necessarily say the past is coming back, but it can also represent a new soulmate, which is definitely possible. You have the Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles says, is the juice worth the squeeze? He's looking at everything he's been working on in his life, and he's saying, is it worth it or not? And obviously, I can't answer that question for you. You have to answer that question. But, there could be some things that aren't worth it. There could be some things that are worth it. And, I would double down on the good stuff, of course. But, the Seven of Pentacles is a change in direction. And next, we have the Judgment card. And the Judgment card is definitely a change in direction. These people, the coffin represents their old life. Outside the coffin is their new life. So they are being called in to do something new by their higher self here. And I feel that pull, like I said earlier in the reading. The Eight of Cups, some of the stuff here, it's almost like you're being pulled towards something new. Or there might just be things. The Eight of Cups can be very subtle. We can just not want to do something anymore, and maybe we don't have a reason. We just feel like we don't want to do something. And I would follow your feelings this week as well here, Scorpio, because again, and that's the other thing as well. This week it might be a good week for you to really spend more time with yourself, so that the feelings might be very subtle, and you might not be able to explain them, but if you listen, then I think you will make the changes. With the Six of Cups, you have the Tower. A Tower and the good stuff can be a good surprise. Could be the surprise of love. The other thing is that the Tower and the Judgment card I consider to be the most powerful combination in the tarot. It can represent a major wake-up call, a light bulb moment, sudden understanding, sudden revelation. So there could be some answers coming in for you this week. With the Seven of Pentacles, you have the Magician. Yeah, I think you are much more flexible than you think. The Magician, he has mastery over all the suits in the tarot, and he's able to use his, any tool he wants for the job. And so I think you have a lot more opportunity than you think. I always pull the card he's pointing to when he shows up at the end, and you have this Fifth House card that says Passion. I think it would be an amazing time for Scorpio to work on a passion project. All these cards are talking about love, doing what you love to do. And it might be a good time for you to think about that. Maybe you need to look for a job that you actually would love. And I'm not saying you're going to find it overnight, but you could find it eventually. Maybe you need to create a business, or maybe you need to start a side hustle, or enjoy a hobby more, right? And that's what I would do with this card. With the Judgment card, you have the Knight of Cups. It's I feel like some of you are becoming aware of a person is kind of what I'm getting. Knight of Cups can be a knight in shining armor. It's I think we can know a person and then we become interested over time. That's what I'm talking about. So if you are looking for love, it could be one of those things where it's you've known a person and all of a sudden you're wait a minute, this person is attractive or whatever. So it could be something like that. And yeah, it just feels like something that might have, maybe it's been a little bit slow, but it could be developing. The Knight of Cups is also your dream. So with the Judgment card, you could be working more on your purpose or something that is a part of your purpose. And I think that would also be very good for you, Scorpio, with this energy. You have this Target card. It says a goal-oriented person. Ace of Swords, Eight of Pentacles. That's picking one goal and accomplishing it. Definitely a good thing. And at the end of the year here, right? I think I challenged everyone recently to pick one thing that normally would take you a year and get it done by the end of the year. And yeah, that is my challenge to you. You have this man, it says dealings with relationships with a man. Sure. You have this rabbit. It says too much concern with sexual matters. Obviously, I would be careful of that if you're not looking for that. So, there you go. You have this finger. It says warning you of a problem either now or in the future. We need to not ignore problems for sure. We have Mercury retrograde. We're in the shadow tomorrow. Actually, the day this video will be published, the 21st, we're entering into the Mercury retrograde shadow. I don't think it's that big of a deal, this Mercury retrograde, but what I would say is if you fix problems now, don't wait. You have this mountain road. It says you're on the road to success. There you go. Love it. And finally, you have this career card. There's definitely something about your career in this reading. I feel like some of you don't like it, or it's like you don't love your job or whatever. And again, it might be time to start thinking about making that change. I'm not even saying you have to leave it, but again, maybe you have to start focusing on the parts of it that you do like so that you can expand that energy more. But this looks pretty good, Scorpio. I like it. So thank you for being here. Make sure to leave a comment. Really helps me out. And definitely enjoy your month.